Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, your program in which we put the searchlight on topical issues in the polity. My name is Benga. I'm really glad to be here this day, Friday, the first day of December 2017. December is here, people. And the year is running to an end. Wow, what a year. So fast, yet so action-packed. Meanwhile, today is also public holiday, declared to mark the birthday of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. So, happy holiday, happy Eid al-Maulud. But back to the business of the day, the Abdul Rashid Maina issue took the center stage again on Thursday as the House of Representatives ad hoc committee probing all issues surrounding how the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on Pension, Abdul Rashid Maina, got suspended, got recalled, promoted, and has been earning salaries. Resumed, that committee resumed its public hearing yesterday. Recall that last week, it had been discordant tunes all the way. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, said he did not write the letters which directed Maina's recall. The head of service, Winifred Oyoita, said she knew nothing about it, and that it was the AGF that wrote the letter. The Minister of Internal Affairs washed his hands off the entire issue, even though Maina resumed in his office as director. And Maina's lawyer then added the twist in the tale when he said, despite all the refuters and the deniers, the attempts by the government officials to deny Maina, they indeed were aware of how he was recalled. Not only that, Maina has not only been earning his salaries till date, but has been treating official files as well. That was the stage at which last week's hearing ended, and so the stage was set for this Thursday, particularly with the directive by the committee that Abdul Rashid Maina must appear. But Maina was not present yesterday, but that did not stop the revelations that continued as top government officials again took on each other by their testimonies. Now, this is what we will serve you for a few minutes just to prepare for our discussion. But our discussion itself is not on this Maina issue. Rather, we are back to Anambra politics this morning. On Wednesday, that's 2 days ago, the PDP was here on this platform to give reasons why it lost that crucial governorship election. More or less, the PDP blamed the influence of money. Or if we put it in proper perspective, the PDP is more or less alleging that APGA won because it bought the election, paid for the votes. Now, is that so? Chief Victor Ume is the immediate past national chairman of APGA and the director general of the Willie Obiano campaign organization. He will join me for today's session. But as I said, let's have you a bit of what happened on Thursday before the ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives set up on the Abdul Rashid Maina issue. And of course, that will lead us to our discussions.
When the process of reinstating Maina as Deputy Director of Federal Service started and ended, I was not in the ministry as Permanent Secretary. But from the records I have, I met when I took over in July as Permanent Secretary, is what I will want to use to present what the ministry actually did, what the ministry played in the resettlement of Maina. From the record, Mr. Chairman, the ministry conducted senior staff committee meeting for reinstatement of Maina after receiving a letter from the office of the head of service to reconsider the earlier position taken by the ministry in dismissing Maina for reinstatement. That meeting held in the ministry with the presence of the representative of the head of service and the Federal Civil Service Commissioner, which without any one of them, that meeting would have been null and void. When the meeting took decision to reinstate Maina, the copy of that minutes of the meeting and the report was sent to the office of the head of service for further necessary action. And that action, as civil servant, we expected that a meeting of Federal Service Management Committee will meet and look at the presentation of Ministry of Interior Senior Staff Committee disagree or agree before they send to Federal Civil Service Commission for further necessary action. That is all what I know, sir. The meeting that the stated manner was initiated, directed by us to conduct by the Office of the Head of Service, and that was the report I made, with all signatories of the participants of that meeting, the directors that participated, and the report and the minutes was all sent for the consideration of Office of the Head of Service.
So, for the Permanent Secretary Interior to claim that the directive of reinstating MENA came from the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation is a bit limited in the facts of the matter. Now, he also made reference, that is the first comment I'm making. Now, the Permanent Secretary Interior also made reference that at the original instance of MENA's dismissal, that when the senior staff committee meeting sat, it referred its recommendations to the Office of Head of Service, and the Federal Service Management Committee the Federal Service Management Committee was convened to look into the recommendation of the ministry. And he's now saying that in this instance, the Federal Service Management Committee was not convened.
For the avoidance of doubt, the agency which he was suspended from, CIPPO, has moved into PTAD. All of PTAD's staff are now on IPPOs. Their biometric data has been captured. We do not have the biometric data of Mr. Minor, which corroborates the points made by the Accountant General that his salary was stopped in March 2013. That was the last payment we have to Mr. Minor, which was for the month of February, paid in arrears. PTAD themselves have been on IPPI since 2014, so we have no record, we do not have his biometric data, and we are not making any payments to him. And as the Accountant General said, we've checked our reinstatement reports, we've searched all combinations of names with Minor, and we have no such record. So the only conclusion we can draw is that he has not received a salary from the federal government.
As at 15th October 2017, Minor's issue relating to a request for reinstatement pursuant to a letter made available and submitted to the Office of the Attorney General for consideration was indeed a work in progress and was not consummated to the point of issuance of a final letter conveying directives of reinstatement of Minor because of the following reasons. One, the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation received a letter from Restoration Chambers dated 9th day of February 2017 on behalf of Minor, which letter was received in my office on 13th February 2017. Two, the Attorney General instructed a legal advisor in his office to treat the letter on the complaint of illegal dismissal submitted to the Office of the Attorney General by Restoration Chambers on behalf of Minor. Three, in a subsequent communication dated 23rd day of April 2017, which was in response to a memo developed by Special Advisor Kehinde Ogini of 11th April 2017, the Attorney General requested the Special Advisor who suggested the reinstatement of Minor arising from the conclusions in the memo to advise on how consequential effect of the judgment in support of his solicitor's letter could translate into the reinstatement of Minor.
All right, we just showed you a little of what happened in the House of Representatives yesterday at the public hearing organized by the ad hoc committee set up by the House of Reps to dig deep and unearth all the facts surrounding this MENA issue. I tell you that this is one big shame of a nation. Anyway, that's not the focus of our conversation this morning. Rather, We are back in Anambra this morning. 2 days ago, we hosted the DG of the Obaze campaign organization, that's the PDP campaign organization, and he said a lot of things. Chief Joe Martin Uzodike said a lot of things. So this morning, we are flipping the coin, and of course, APGA is what comes up. And I have here with me Chief Victor Ume. Chief Victor Ume is former national chairman of the All Progressives Ghana Alliance, APGA, Chairman Willie Obiano Re-election and Campaign Committee. The ultimate godfather in Anambra politics today. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, there's nothing like godfather.
How are you not?
In
How are you not the?
APGA, no.
How are you not the ultimate godfather now?
No, I'm not. I'm a diligent party worker.
Peter Obi, twice you led his campaign.
Yes.
He won.
Yes.
Twice you have led the campaigns for Willie Obiano.
Yes.
Twice you have won.
And Rochas Okorocha in 2011.
And of course, in 2011, before
he moved over.
Before
he migrated.
So how are you not the ultimate godfather of Anambra politics now?
No, that doesn't make me a godfather. It rather makes me a diligent party worker. You know, when there is a call for duty, I step out to help the party to work hard to win these elections you've mentioned. It's a different thing from what they call godfather. A godfather stays behind the scene, calls the shots, puts somebody forward, finances the person's elections for a reward, you know, that public may not know what the reward will be. And when the person gets into office, the godfather begins to call the shots. So it doesn't have the same character. No, I work for my party at these critical times you've mentioned, and ensure that I make my contributions to achieve victory for the party. It's not only the work I do alone, I do it with other members of the party. So a godfather finances the election and takes his dividends, you after yes.
Anyway, but what would have probably been a perfect reward for you is still hanging in the balance. That's your senatorial bid. We'll come back to that shortly.
Okay.
Perhaps for somebody like you who, because I also recall the several years of struggle in APGA, the leadership tussle and all of that, the several court cases and all of that. Yeah. Perhaps that senatorial seat would have been a perfect reward for you. But it's still hanging in the balance. Like I said, we'll come back to that. But let's talk about the Anambra election first.
Yes.
How were you able to pull that chestnut out of the fire? Because the Anambra election was projected as one that was up for grabs. Yes. It was there for anybody to pick, at least among 4 or 5 candidates. Your candidate, the PDP candidate, the APC candidate, the UPP candidate. Yes. All of these were projected as having equal chance to win that election.
Well, the purported projected equal chances of the candidates for victory in the poll was a make-believe. It was something that propaganda was used to unleash to the unsuspecting public. But those of us who were in the state, we are certain that Governor Obiano will win the election and that APGA will win. It was obvious to people within the state, but some people chose to use Twitter, Facebook, and all kinds of media forum to launder things that were not the truth. Clearly, what faced the Anambra people on that election was the 2 choices. The first choice was to sustain a governor that has done well for the people, to continue in office. Then the second choice was to gamble with uncertainty. You know, bring somebody, you don't know what he can do, but everything based on promises. I will do this, I will do that. And we were clearly convinced that the governor put up sterling performance, appreciated deeply by the people of Anambra State, not the people who create opinions that are false and peddle them around. People read. the masses in Anambra State, the general people of Anambra State were very much appreciative of the quality governance Obiano brought to bear in the state in 3 years and 7 months only, you know. So it was a clear case of those who were challenging him and the APGA singing songs that the electorate did not want to listen to, you know. And they hyped it up so much that people began to believe that something was in the offing. And 2 days to that poll, not in your program, it was on Sunrise Daily on Channels Television. I reviewed the upcoming election and predicted a landslide victory for Obiano, you know, and APGA. So many things were responsible for that. This was a governor, the challengers or the opponents chose to use blackmail and falsehood to put down in the election. And the more they tried to do that, what the governor did for the people continued to stare them in the face. And I was the chairman of the re-election and campaign committee. So I was involved from the designing of the campaign strategies and the implementation. The flag off of the campaign on 2nd October 2017 gave the first signal that Obiano was unstoppable in that election. That flag off witnessed a broad spectrum of the stakeholders in Anambra State, the largest crowd ever assembled in a political rally in recent time. The venue of that flag off, the Dr. Lese Kweme Square in Awka, was filled to the brim with quality people, traditional rulers, president generals of town unions, women leaders, many groups, you know, and youths, all classes of people were there. Those who could not get to the arena were outside, and they were more in number. So it shook the firmament, the political space.
I raised that in the interview we had with the PDP, the DJ of the PDP campaign organization. I said in Anambra, it's possible to rent a crowd.
No,
and that is easy actually to rent a crowd.
When they had their own flag off, how many traditional rulers were they able to rent? Because there is a process that was open to everybody. I told you that the underpinning factor for that victory was the performance put up by Obiano in office. And briefly, it would be very easy for you to appreciate what I'm telling you. Obiano came with administrations. He was able to arrest those problems and solve them. One was security. Anambra State was known for violent crimes and kidnappings. You know, even when the former governor was there, about 68 high-profile cases were recorded where big men were kidnapped, and some of them lost their lives. Even the Commissioner for Science and Technology, Honorable Sisi Okoli, that served under P2B, while Obi was governor, his commissioner for science and technology was kidnapped, and up to today he's not been found, and he was killed. Yes, you know. So that will give you the idea of what security challenge we had. So when Obiano came, he knew that there was nothing he could do for the state in the face of grave insecurity, you know. So first 1 month in office, he mounted a security summit and brought in Israeli security experts. I was in that program at Professor Women Development Center. You know, the security experts presented papers, and when that summit ended, he went down to work. Within 6 months, he cracked the criminals.
He was actually the one that pioneered the idea of whenever the residence of a kidnapper, of a suspected kidnapper is located,
yeah, they go and pull it down.
You pull it down.
Obi pulled down some of them, but that wasn't only the magic. That was just a punishment, you know. Obi did that, but it didn't help the matter. What helped the matter was that Obiano had to resort to modern ways of fighting crime by bringing in equipment with which you can track crime. You know, Obi gave vehicles, he lost vans to police and army. he didn't get the solution. But in the case of Governor Obiano, he brought additional security vans and all that, and equipped these vans with communication gadgets with which you can track crime wherever it happens, you know. And again, he had a control room from where you can actually establish the coordinates of the locations of these kidnaps and so on and so forth. And with the task force he put in place involving the Navy, the Army, the police, civil defense, and NDLEA, you know, he had a war council against violent crime, you know.
And of course, with support from the Israelis.
For the Israelis, the gadgets I'm telling you about, so that if you see, it worked like magic. Because once a kidnap case is recorded anywhere, within minutes, they will be tracked. You know where they're headed to, and the task force will coordinate the activities and cut them off the place. That's the way it's done in America, where you shoot somebody in the street and speed away. Within a few hours, the police in America will surround you, and you hands up and put out your hands for handcuff. So that was the kind of thing Obiano brought to Anambra State, and it's a very expensive thing to do. So he spent security money on security and boosted the morale of the people involved in fighting crime. So it paid off, and all the locations where criminals use as hideouts, including their supply depots from where they get arms, Obiano attacked those supply depots and they fled away. So he continued it and sustained these actions and rid the state completely free of any form of crime. That today, Anambra State can be said to be the safest state in Nigeria. Before you know, Anambra State, if somebody invites you to Anambra State, you think twice before you make it. No professional group has ever held a conference in Anambra State. But today, all of them come to Anambra State to hold conferences. So with the giant stride he made in security, he opened the state for all kinds of economic activities. Investors started coming in because his mission statement was that he wanted to make Anambra State first choice investment destination in Anambra State, in Nigeria, not in Nigeria. And you know that cannot be possible without security. The Chinese people who were involved in a motor factory, in the Winnoson factory, under Governor Obi's watch, they were kidnapped. And later on, the skeleton of one of them was found at Ekolieda in Ebonyi State. You know, so the white men left Anambra State in droves. The place went down economically. And during those violent crimes, even our entrepreneurs, big ones, left Onitsha and then they were relocated to Lagos. So the economy of the state shrunk to abysmal level in the past. But with this security restored, our people started coming back, investors started coming back. So the economy of Anambra State boomed again, you know. And with his methodical approach to governance, he was able to, as a seasoned banker and chartered accountant, as soon as he came in, he audited the workforce in Anambra State, did biometrics for them, and computerized salary payments that at intervals, 25th of every month, all the workers will receive their salaries through credit alert to their phones. You know, the bank posted their salaries to them without any fail. To the extent that for the 3 years and 7 months I had been in office, the workers enjoyed steady income, even when he passed through recession. Many states were not paying salaries. Obiano paid them salaries promptly, 25th of every month, and promoted them, gave salary increase 15% across board, and continued to do general promotion exercises, payment of allowances. And as he was paying this, he was paying pensioners. Everyone was getting his money. So when other states were complaining of non-payment of salaries, Anambra State enjoyed the healthiest workforce. And he came and introduced one program that led to his landslide victory. Choose Your Community project program.
What's that?
Every community in Anambra State was entitled to choose a project worth 20 million naira. They will choose that project for themselves, and then government will provide the money to them. They will choose the contractor, and they execute that project. If you finish the first 20 million, you take another 20 million. That was 40 million. And we have 179 communities, and they split Obosi, that is large, and Onisha North into two. So it made it now 181 communities. So every community was entitled to 40 million naira of fund to execute any project of their choice by themselves. Okay. So the first tranche of 20 million naira was drawn by every community, no matter how small your community is. You know. So if you're a small community like Awa, Ndukwe, Nolumbanasa, those little communities, they enjoy the same status with a town like Nnewi, that is very large, 20 million. So it was an even distribution of development fund given to every community. And with that, every community was able to execute one project, either a town center, a town hall, civic center, or fencing of a school around you, anything you initiated, you know, that is important to you, stores, markets, you know. So as we were preparing for the election, every community had a project to show finished. And those who took the second tranche were about 86 communities. So as they were campaigning in the pages of newspapers and Facebook that Obiano has not done anything, the communities were laughing at them because the projects were there standing, you know. And again, when he came, he took over from his predecessor, he inherited 101 roads under construction. But the former governor, within 2 weeks of his exit, or 3 months at most, flagged up about 101 roads at a cost of 185 billion, paid mobilization, leaving a contingent liability of 127 billion for Obiano. And he didn't disengage anybody. He continued working on those roads. By the time we were entering the election, he had completed 51 roads out of the 101 roads and paid a total of 62 billion naira.
These were the same roads that the PDP, or shall I say the former governor, used to campaign in the last election. That those roads were done by him.
No, they were not done by him. He just flagged them off, paid mobilization, and left 127 billion naira.
But I'm sure you had a campaign that
yes,
my successor has not done anything. This road, I am the one that did it. This road, I'm the one that did it.
That's why he was not seen anywhere in the election. He lost woefully because he chose to do propaganda against the governor, and the people knew the difference between his administration and Obiano's administration. He was there for 8 years. Yeah. Obiano had just spent 3 years and 8 months now, and people have seen what he's done in the area of infrastructure development.
The Peter Obi administration could be regarded as probably the architect of modern Anambra State.
Yes, agreed, undisputed.
Yeah, but he did rubbish all of that with the partisan role he played in the election.
Yes,
because by saying that his successor didn't do anything, it was more. It's like pointing one finger and pointing back at him because he was the one that enthroned that government.
He told a bare-faced lie, and that was why he disgraced himself in that poll. You know, there's no way you can tell a people that are knowledgeable and wise, that are able to make comparative analysis on every issue. You tell them lies, you want them to take it from you. So he was talking to an unwilling electorate, because all the things he was saying, the people believed they were out of vendetta, out of whatever led to it. He was trying to fight a man who the people judged to be a good man and working for them. So he couldn't convince anybody. Because, like I told you, he was there for 8 years, and this man had been there for 3 years and 8 months, about 8 months now, you know, before the election, 3 years and 7 months. And comparatively speaking, our people were able to draw the analogy between Obi's first time in office and Obiano's first time in office. Obi's first time in office was a monumental failure. I was national chairman of the party, and you were aware. I was coming to this studio to defend him, all the time, fighting along with him, because he couldn't do anything the first time. His re-election was an uphill task for the party. It took...
the first time was more or less even kind of segmented somehow.
Yes, so you could see that his second term, he had to win a second term re-election with about 97,000 votes. The PDP came with 60-something thousand, and APC came with 60-something thousand. Then look at Obiano's re-election, where Obiano now polled 234,000. APC got 98,000, and PDP 70,000. Can you see the gap? To the extent that if you sum the votes scored by the other 36 candidates, Obiano still defeated them.
He won 55% of the vote.
Yes, so you could see that the people were so eager to get Obiano continue in office. It didn't happen by accident. That was why he won in the 21 local governments.
That has also been pointed out
them to.
That has also been pointed out as something unusual in Anambra politics, where you have as many as 5 leading political parties for one dominant party to win in all of the 21 local governments. That it has never happened before in Anambra. So there's something unusual about that.
There's nothing unusual. It's just that the performance of the governor was outstanding. It was extraordinary. And it's only a fool who throw away something that is good. Because the option before our electorate was to choose between good government and a gamble into uncertainty. So we decided to preserve a government that is stable. There is no symptom of bad governance present in Anambra State today. The workers are good to go. Infrastructural development, the governor had tackled them extensively. In Awka, for example, when you come, if you visit now, you pass through 3 flyovers within the city of Awka. You've approached the state capital. The governor was there, the other one was there for 8 years, and he could not point at one legacy project he did. It was a case of a governor that is thinking inside the box and one that was thinking outside the box. So one had a bigger dream and was able to accomplish a lot.
Isn't that an irony? Because Peter Obi, from nowhere, brought Willie Obiano. And again, just less than a year or so down the line, both men started quarreling without anybody knowing what the source of the quarrel is. You have been Peter Obi's friend and brother for a very long time. Yeah. Willie Obiano is also he's more like a brother to you too.
Indeed, Obiano.
So here you are in between these two who are fighting, and none of them has been able to categorically tell Nigerians what the source of the quarrel is.
Well, going into that will mean trying to take you on a long story. I will not want to tell a long story, but I'll tell you.
Does it have to do with 37 billion naira demand from Peter Obi to Willie Obiano as money spent to put him in power and all of that?
There were such issues, but if the issue was to be money only, Obi handed over on the 17th of March, 2014. And 4 months after that, on the first day of August, he resigned as the leader and chairman of Board of Trustees of APGA. Then on October 7th, 2014, he defected to PDP and was appointed Deputy Director General, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan campaign organization.
For the entire South?
For the South. Okay. The entire South. Okay. Southwest, South, and Southeast. That's such an exalted position he took up. And where I mentioned that it was just after 4 months that he resigned, then in the 6th month, he defected. 6 months would have been too short a time for the successor to have annoyed him, to have refused paying him money, if money was the issue. Because even if it's a marriage, before divorce, you must live with your wife at least 1 year. You look at the things that will make you incompatible before you say you won't marry again. So from the onset, Obi had his eyes set on coming to the center. You know, having used the APGA for 8 years to be governor of Anambra State, under very turbulent and challenging circumstances to the party, who defended him and protected him.
Against the same PDP.
Against the same PDP that took his mandate in 2003. You know, he went over because he's a philosopher, and he postulated that if you enter a vehicle and you get to your destination, you must disembark. If you want to travel to Lagos from Onitsha, you enter Ekenedi Chukwu. When you get to Jibo in Lagos, you must disembark. So he used APGA in his own sense as a vehicle to where he wanted to go. And as soon as he used us for 8 years, finished, he had high ambitions, either to be minister, vice president, or president. And he owned his own skewed calculation. He believed that APGA had nothing to offer him again. So he jumped ship. In the PDP, towards the twilight of his administration, they said it by themselves that he was going to be a federal minister. Okonjo-Iweala said that one in my presence on the 8th of March, 2014, when he was giving account of his stewardship. Okonjo-Iweala came from the federal government, Minister of Finance, and said there will be no rest for Obi because he will be joining the federal government. You know, on the day he handed over, our own brother, distinguished Senator Ben Diobi, represented the president, and came to that event and said Obi was going to join the Federal Executive Council. You join the Federal Executive Council as a minister or a top aide of the president. So these were the things he worked on. And don't forget that in the February of 2014, Obi accompanied PDP governors to the National Assembly to meet the PDP caucus in the National Assembly, along with Mimiko. You know, the two of them that had arranged to cross over to PDP, far back, February 2014. So as soon as they came out from that caucus meeting, the screaming headlines in newspapers were, Obi and Mimiko will join our party, says PDP. So it was a long-planned defection, not because Obiano annoyed him, or anybody did anything against him, or was not performing. So he left in pursuit of that higher ambition. And as soon as he landed in PDP, I've told you the appointment he was given. The president also appointed him chairman of the Security Exchange Commission. So it was good for him to be there. And he was waiting for the big payback if Jonathan won the presidential election. Even when we, APGA, was supporting Jonathan for the presidential election, Obi saw us as enemies. You know, in the election of 2015, he used the heavy might of PDP to attempt to crush APGA in that process. You know, like I contested for Senate. I won, they rigged me out. I had to go to the tribunal to nullify the election. But when the president lost that presidential election to the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, Obi's political calculation became a misadventure because everything collapsed therein. He couldn't achieve his purpose, and he started peddling stories thereafter that he was sent away from APGA, a journey he took by himself. Because during the campaigns in 2015, he was describing APGA that sustained him for 8 years as a local league on radio by himself. He said he has gone to Premier League, that's PDP, and we were still gallivanting around the local league. So that was it. So it wasn't that issue of being hostile to him. He took the choice, gambled with it, and failed. So
there was another big name that also left APGA.
He played Russian roulette, you know, and the dice fell on where he didn't place his bet.
There was another big name that also left APGA in on the wheel of the election. Yeah. I'm trying to remember his own name now. It's Emeka Emeka Jr.
In the election, this is just the last election.
This last election.
Yes.
He left APGA too.
Yes.
And said that APGA has ceased to represent what his late father had in mind when he put his whole life in APGA and was the spiritual leader, more or less, of APGA.
Well, that statement...
Let me add another to that question, which is, did you also tacitly get some kind of support from some PDP chieftains who were also equally angry with how Peter Obi came in from nowhere and just edged them out of a party that had been theirs for a very long time.
You know, in politics, so many things play out. In the first question asked about our leader's son,
Yes.
he was misguided by some people, and he thought he was going for something better. They made some promises to him, I understand, and he decided to move. If he said that APGA doesn't represent what his father wished for in his lifetime, then it will mean that he didn't even understand what his father represented in his lifetime. So it was a tragic mistake he made. They coerced him into coming to APC to embarrass APGA. And on the 16th of November, in the program I told you I did on channels, I was asked what would be the impact of his defection to APC on the election that was coming up in 2 days' time. I said zero impact. Zero. I said that was my answer. And it was zero. Because on that day, his local government came, that's Nnewi North, came with a very huge figure. That was the highest figure we've recorded in the Nnewi North since we've been contesting elections. 10,000 something.
10,845.
You can see that. We never had it like that. So it showed that he had no impact on the election. Some people just pushed him and wanted to make a cheap political point, not knowing that it will not have any relevance on the election. And that was it.
Did you get support from some PDP chieftains
who
were angry with their party?
They even crossed over because...
some crossover, like Ifeanyi.
Like Ifeanyi, but Chief Peter Obi, you know he's a chief now. Before he was Mr., you know. So Chief Peter Obi went into the PDP and imposed his godson on the party. And, you know, when he moved in to PDP, he was a stranger in the PDP.
Yeah, but he became enthroned as the leader.
Yes, because of what he touted and people believed. People have come to this program to discuss his political weight. You know, what people do in Nigeria is that once you are a governor, they start calling you Excellency, Excellency. Nobody will know who helped you to become governor. You know, those who work hard to make you become governor will be relegated because they don't have power to approve anything, either appointment or contract. So the governor becomes the champion. So those of us who did the work and made Obi what he became politically, were given scant attention. So they were celebrating somebody who had no political weight because we suffered greatly to sustain in office. Myself, our party members, and Dim Chukwemeka Odumegwu. So when he left APGA, he became like fish out of water. Well, what sustained him was APGA and its character. You know. So when he went to the PDP, he went with a handful of APGA members that worked with him when he was governor. Yeah, got into PDP, yes, and now there was mass exodus from PDP by the original PDP members. Some people remained behind to ensure that he's punished because he hijacked the primary of the PDP. I've seen programs on Focus, on AIT. Those who participated in that process cried out. All of them, without exception. Ifeanyi Oba, Stella Odoa, Chris Oba, all of them, you know, were full of anger against what he did. And because he went and got the support of his former colleagues in the PDP that were governors, they thought that the way Obi was being celebrated, that he would be the joker for PDP in Anambra State. And it turned out to be the Achilles heels. As soon as they gave him the opportunity to rig that primary, because he rigged the primary and got his preferred candidates imposed on the party scattered. You know, so those who didn't want to continue with the party came over to us. Some of their stakeholders stayed in the PDP campaigning for Obiano and APGA. They should be taught a lesson.
Because I'm still going to be asking you about the Anambra Central, is it Central?
Anambra Central.
Central Senatorial. Yeah. Let me just quickly round up on this one. We saw clips of people being paid money on election day and all of that. And immediately after the results were announced, most of the other chieftains who lost, Chidoka, Tony Nwoye, Obaze, all of them said the election was bought. People were paid money to vote for APGA. Did you pay money for people to vote for APGA?
I think it was a first a first seminar statement for them. The type of beating they refused, they never imagined it to be possible. And when we were busy campaigning across the 21 local government areas in the state, we didn't see them in the field. They were busy putting money together with people to buy the votes. You know, as soon as we saw that they were going to use money to buy the votes, if you go and play back our campaigns in the last week, you know, of the campaigns, you will always see me speaking to the voters. If they give you money, pocket the money and use your conscience to vote. That the money is your money. So let the money not be what will influence you. Take their money, because it was obvious they had lost the election. So they started preparing on how to buy the votes. And I saw one of the candidates saying that his agents disappointed him. And what happened to the agent was that the agents carried the money and didn't spend it on buying the votes thereafter. So to tell you, yes, the international observers and some other people said that money was given to people, but these were people who stood no chance in the election, trying to buy the votes. We had no reason to buy votes. APGA has been entrenched in the state. And I've told you what informed the landslide victory of Obiano and APGA was the superlative performance Obiano put. I was illustrating it for you. There was no time. Yeah. You know, Anambra today, we are #1 in agriculture, you know, across the country. So there's no place we have not come tops in governance. So our people would have been idiots to ask Obiano to go. And they start looking at people, you don't know what they would do. So it wasn't money at all. We didn't use money to buy voters. Because we had
it was a victory
well earned by through the performance and what the party represents for them. You know, 11 years plus now, APGA had been in Anambra State, and it's been good stories. You know.
Let's talk about you now. This has to do with you. Yeah. Just last week, INEC, in obedience to an earlier court order, the latest court order on these highly politicized senatorial districts, INEC decided to fix the election for the 13th
January.
13th January. Yeah. But we're hearing again that that may not be, because there are still so many cases that are in court. I know that this is one senatorial district where the cases have gone to Supreme Court, come back, go to the Supreme Court, come back, on so many issues related to just one senatorial district. Yeah. Just try and, without summarize why this lockdown is there since July 2015.
It is a tragedy of very high proportion that some people are taking the Anambra people for a ride due to their selfish ambitions. The Anambra Central Senatorial rerun election is still pending. Is a case of those who have lost, not wanting the election to take place at all again. Let the seat be vacant in 2019, you know, and nobody will enter there. That is their preoccupation. There is nothing legal like standing on the way of the conduct of this election come 13th January. Like you pointed out, the Court of Appeal, that is the final court for National Assembly election disputes, had since 7 December 2015 nullified that election and ordered the rerun for within 90 days and disqualified the candidate of the PDP, Honorable Chekunife, you know, in that judgment, and by extension PDP out too. Because if election is nullified because of an infraction of a candidate, that candidate and the party will not take part in the run.
That's
settled Supreme Court, you know, is the case law, Labour Party versus INEC, since 2009. But because these are bad losers, they said nobody will go there. And they started making efforts to ensure that the seat remained vacant. First of all was that P2B, who was not part of the election in 2015,
the original election,
appeared last year and started saying he wants to be part of the rerun, you know. And I said, how can that be? We were thinking that it was a joke. And he obtained an order from the Federal High Court, Abuja here, that PDP must take part in the rerun with its candidate. Because as soon as that happened,
Uche could even have left the PDP.
Not even whether he remained in PDP
or not,
it wouldn't have made any difference. Yeah. But she ignorantly moved over to APC so that she can pursue ticket of APC in a run that no room for fresh candidates. APC went
the
into
APC
that
too
era.
has no candidates.
They went into that era. They had the candidate Dr. Chris Ngige, who became a minister, and it's still there for him to run if he wants to run. But they went into that era to want to substitute Ngige. INEC refused to. INEC refused to take it. They went to court. INEC refused P2B. They went to court. Then the judge, strangely, made an order that PDP should put a new candidate. INEC appealed against that order. I sought for leave, appealed against it. And they went on a delay mission at the Court of Appeal for nearly 2 years now. But finally, the Court of Appeal was able to deliver judgment and restore the process to the settled law by the Supreme Court that there's no room for fresh candidates. So now that they're going around saying that they have pending cases everywhere, those cases have nothing to do with the election that will take place in 13 January.
I've read some of the papers, and they have to be on the issues that were already settled.
The Court of Appeal has settled everything. One of the cases pending in the High Court was where the Honorable Chekunle sponsored somebody to go to the Federal High Court to say that 90 days having elapsed, the election should no longer take place. But the Court of Appeal now delivered the judgment and disagree with them because they put preliminary objection on that issue. The Court of Appeal overruled them and re-established another 90 days. So this is the second time the Court of Appeal is making the order for the election to take place within 90 days. So this current one has settled that pending case at the High Court, the same pending case. Then there was another bizarre case filed by Dr. Obiora Okonkwo, who was claiming in the High Court that he defeated Uche Funivere in the primary. A primary that the Court of Appeal has already said it didn't take place. So he's claiming something from nothing. And that is the pending case. So they are
okay, that's the one that they are saying is pending now.
These are the ones pending.
And because of that, INEC cannot conduct the election.
How can INEC not conduct the election? The Section 8710 of the Electoral Act is very emphatic on that. No court can stop a scheduled election by INEC, general election. No court. Even if you are on appeal against any decision, it does not stop INEC from conducting the election.
Okay.
Because in Kogi State, where the same things that happened in Anambra happened, about five
federal seats,
federal seats,
two senatorial seats,
and one House of Reps, two House of Assembly. They were all nullified for non-conduct of primary by APC. The same thing in Anambra Central. So when APC tried to be part of the rerun, the same Federal High Court judge stopped them from taking part and allowed PDP to take part in Anambra.
The same judge.
So even when they went on appeal against that decision, INEC conducted those elections, and the seats have been taken since last year.
So you are ready for January?
We are ready for the election with other 13 candidates. We were 15 before. PDP is out of the way. It's now myself and 13 others. APC still involved. So if Ngige wants to run, he should resign and join.
But not the candidate that emerged from the
phantom primary that is illegal. That was clearly illegal. The Supreme Court had said it clearly. And do you know
only parties as they were on the original?
Do you know the shock? The judge that said PDP will put a fresh candidate in Anambra Central. In the case of APC and Shannon Ekazo versus INEC, the same judge said the time for nomination of candidates for the court-ordered election had lapsed, and threw away the case of APC, 14th March 2017.
And yet, compare the case of PDP.
So that's the only one standing, and the Court of Appeal has now thrown it away. The road is now clear for INEC to conduct the election. My regret was that my people have been denied representation for more than 2 years. So on 13th of January, Anambra Central will have a senator, a year and 6 months left in the process. But whoever wins that election should go and do. But what I have to condemn in this program remains the judicial impertinence of the court that foisted this impasse on Anambra Central, because it was a deliberate action. You know, we'll leave it at that. And then those who are still angling that the election should not take place should go and read the judgments and the position of the law.
All right.
You know, and they should go and rest, knowing that there's another time. You must not be there.
We'll see you after January.
After the election,
January 13th.
I'll file damages against Peter Obi.
Maybe when we'll see you after January 13th,
I'll file for damages on behalf of Anambra Central Senatorial District people.
That has been denied in force.
Against all these people who deliberately, you know, frustrated this election. I'll use it. It will be a novel case.
All right.
It will be a novel case. And, you know, I'm used to novel cases.
Thank you so much.
You know, yes.
Let's stop here. Thank you so much. Chief Victor Ume is former national chairman, APGA, Chairman Willie Obiano, re-election and campaign committee, and the APGA candidate in the court-ordered rerun for the Anambra Central Senatorial District. INEC has fixed that date, the date for that election rather, for January 13th. And we look forward to all of that too. Thank you so much. Maybe when next we see you, you might just be referred to as Senator Victor Ume.
By grace of God.
Enjoy the holiday. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Polling booths, including the PDP DG. I saw 2 days ago. He lost his polling unit. Polling unit there. He couldn't buy votes.
He don't do. He don't do. Thank you. Thank you. Enjoy the holiday. My name is Ben Garuleva. I'll see you.